So really, when we do this, right, as we do this, I need you guys, as we announce that we're doing this live, I need you to scream like you're back being teenagers, right, and going crazy. So this thing will be broadcast over 18 countries now. We're in the top 200 in most of those countries as a podcast. So this is an opportunity to get a lot of very cool exposure for your businesses. So when we do call out for questions, raise your hand and we'll get a mic out to you. As you do that, stand up, say who you are, announce what your company's name is. Don't tell us what your company does. Nobody gives a shit, right? So just tell us what your company name is and then ask a question so we can answer it, okay? We all understand the rules of the game. But if you guys don't get loud, I'm gonna make fun of you all day long and we're just gonna have fun doing that. Fair? All right, let's do this. All right, guys, this is gonna be fun. Is it the third time we've ever done a live podcast?
It is the third time we've done this.
So this is a lot of fun. We are live at the Champion Summit in Cincinnati, Ohio. So this is a Growth Mode podcast. Kevin and I have had a blast doing this. We've been interviewing some of the biggest names in the world lately. And it's fun when him and I get a chance to sit down, talk business a little bit. You know, I'll tell you guys, building a business has been the toughest thing we've ever done in our lives. We have scraped, clawed, and we figured out a lot of things along this journey. You know, and most times what happens to people as they're building their businesses is they end up making themselves an island. Because nobody wants to ask for help, because asking for help leaves you too open for exposure, right? And you don't want people to figure out how bad your business actually is. And I know because this is what I did early on as I was building. I was scared to death if anybody found out all the things I was doing wrong, that nobody would do business with me. This is a lot of reasons we do the things we do. We still take all the bumps and bruises. It doesn't get any easier as you grow, right? And there's still a lot of learning along the way. But what we wanted to do was open up an opportunity for you guys to get a chance to ask questions straight up from us and all the things that we do. Some of you, for that don't know me, spent 20 years as a straight commission sales guy. Sold hundreds of millions of dollars in business. Been running the company now for 5.5 years. Kevin's got, how many years in sales now?
Almost 25.
So we just got a hell of a background when it comes from everything sales, operations, mindset, and marketing. So we're going to open it up for you guys to ask questions. Raise your hand. I think Lauren's going to come around with a microphone. There we go. So who you are, you guys got the role. Fire away, Hannah.
All right, I'm Hannah Chapman. I'm the founder of X Squared Wealth Planning and Expansive CEO. And the question that I wanted you guys to talk about and open up about a little bit is, what were some of the money stories that you experienced in starting, Success Champion Networking? What money mindset stuff did you have to overcome in order to?
I knew you were going to ask that. Love that question. So, how many here grew up with parents who were entrepreneurs? Yeah, no. I grew up, my dad was a truck driver. Mom worked at Lee Blue Jean Factory. My dad retired from Xerox as a technician. Mom retired as a receptionist for an eye doctor. Dude, we grew up dirt poor broke, right? We were on the meal plans for school and the whole 9 yards. So money in our household was just not anything you talked about, right? And if you talked about money, it was always, ooh, what'd you pay for that? We wanted to see if anybody else actually had money or were they as broke as us. So flash forward through most of my sales career, money was a tough thing to freaking talk about, because I wasn't raised around it. And now that I'm a sales guy, you're raised as a kid, don't talk about money and don't talk to strangers. Now I gotta go talk to strangers and talk about money, So it was really, really hard to flip the script to realize that if I don't sell people, I'm actually being freaking selfish. Because the products and services I've sold over the years do damn good things. And if I can't get it in their hands, then I'm being selfish because I have something that can truly help them, and I'm not putting myself in enough position to make it happen.
I think one of the big things with money for entrepreneurs, especially if you didn't come from that background where your parents were in business. I grew up on a farm in South Dakota, and until maybe a couple years ago, I didn't really understand, oh, that's actually a business. And I was just, yeah, my parents are farmers. Well, they actually were a business, and that's what they did. So we didn't talk about money either. But I saw my parents doing the books and doing all that type of stuff, taxes, meeting with the bankers, and doing all that types of stuff. But then when you get into business, if you haven't been in those types of conversations a lot, the whole concept of talking about big dollar amounts is really foreign to people. And we met with a vendor the other day, and we were talking about a $350,000 program. And I've never talked about a $350,000 thing that I wanted to spend money on. You know, I've been trying to sell people, $350,000 worth of stuff. But the concept of us spending $350,000 on something was like, oh my God, what have I done? So it's that type of stuff that gets stuck in your head that makes it really hard to think, I can charge $50,000 a month for my service. I can charge this. I'm worth that type of money because you've never grown up talking about value and money that way. So if you want to be a business owner and you want to be successful, you have to get comfortable talking about money and really figuring out, what is my worth? What is my time worth to my clients? What is, if I charge them this, what are their results going to be? Why should they want to pay me that?
Awesome. Who's next? One in the back, one here.
Thanks. Brent Hale, CEO of Maverick App. As a new business and a growing business, what were the biggest hurdles that you faced in terms of developing new business and getting new sales in the door, and how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, starting out, I can tell you I tried to be everything to everyone. I had the save the world complex, and I thought my years of sales and knowledge was valuable for everyone, which I still think there's some truth to that. But finally figuring out a niche and going deep on one singular niche. Everybody talks about niching down from the perspective of how you market. I think the power of niching down is helping you figure out how you actually build your business. Because if you can pick one industry that you're going to sell to with one service to that industry and you figure that out, you can take that knowledge with you to every other industry down the road. And I love telling everybody, Amazon started as a bookstore. Then they went into toys. And they got it right with books, then they got it right with toys, and they just kept moving into more divisions. When you start out, man, if you're trying to sell everything to everyone, you're gonna lose, and it's gonna take you a very long time to actually figure out how to build that business.
So for me, when I actually launched Time on Target back in 2010. And that's my company outside of Success Champions. And when I got back from a deployment, I did a huge pivot with my business where instead of me doing public speaking and training in companies, I was now actually consulting and going and helping them do stuff. And I was really excited, and I did all the things that I thought a CEO was supposed to do. So I made a website. I designed marketing stuff. I did all logos,
business cards.
Yeah, I did all this cool things. I worked on pricing plans and
Wait, you just said that's the cool things.
Yeah, that's what isn't that what you're supposed to do as a CEO? But my big issue was, I was busy and I was doing all these things. I was able to show, we just launched the website. We just did this. I wasn't doing the thing I actually needed to do to grow my company and be successful, and that was going out and selling. So that is really, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that's your first task, and you have a business, or even you just have the business idea, is to go out and sell and prove that what you are doing, there is actually a market for before you go do all the other stuff. Because that helps you then fix your messaging. You figure, all right, so here's what I got to say. When I get in front of this prospect, I say these things because they nod yes, and they understand what I'm saying. And we all have that when we sell. There's that one phrase you use that when you say it, the client just gets it. They're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I need. But if you're not having those conversations, you're not figuring that out. So that is the number one thing you have to do as a business owner, is go out and start selling and get into conversations, and then come back and say, all right, sweet, I got clients, I have revenue. I actually probably should have a website now so I can get more. Oh, I probably should do this. Now I can get more off of this thing. So Just
Yeah.
go sell.
Go sell. Go sell. Yeah.
It would help if I turned it on. Deanna Russo, founder and owner of Leverage Up. And my question is, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to business owners or people in business about marketing and how to market the right way, what would it be?
Yeah, and I'll talk about this a lot later on. Build a personal brand. Screw everything else you think you need to do marketing-wise and build a personal brand. If nobody's bringing your name up and talking about you in the right circumstances, then stories are being told, just not the right stories. So think about it. You know, there's somebody like Tony Robbins. Who here knows what Tony's business is? What's his business? Yell it out. What is it? See, everybody always says that. Motivational speaker. Watch this. Tony has 101 companies to the tune of $7 billion. Tony has one job, and that's to be the face of his damn company. Right? All of those conferences, walking on coal crap, and the online things he does, that's all to fill his 101 companies. I'm sure deep down somewhere he gives a crap about helping people out. At the end of the day, he's a decent businessman, just looking at it from a strictly financial standpoint. He's built an empire that people don't even know about. Right? So if you think about it from a marketing perspective, go build your personal brand. And I'll talk a lot later about how to actually do that. But it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I second everything he says. But I want to add in there, when you actually do start marketing and you're going to be putting out websites or lead magnets or email or anything like that, don't talk about you. Right? That was what everyone does. Our inboxes are all probably filling up right now with really bad marketing email. And it's always like, hey, we can do this stuff for you. When you market, you need to be solving a problem for your prospect. They need to read that and say, well, that's the life I want after I work with Deanna. They need to be able to picture themselves in a better place. So when you're doing marketing, if you're always talking about, yeah, we have these features and we have these bells and whistles and we can do this and we've been around since 1884. I don't care. I want to know what you can do for me now and how working with you is going to make my life better. How I can maybe go to bed an hour earlier, or I can go to bed and not be thinking about all my business stuff and I can turn my mind off and sleep. Right? So your marketing has to address that. It has to all be about how you help them have a better life.
Come on, Jack.
Jack Murphy, Motion 3 Technology, and then other stuff I'm not supposed to say because you don't care.
Thank you for following the rules.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the question is, when you're narrowing down your scope or your niche, how did you go from that sort of infinity place of like, I want to serve everyone, to finding a focal point? Was it a technical process? Was it an emotional process? Like, these are the industries I like to work with.
Yeah, so for me, I would say it was an emotional process followed by a revenue chain. So I'm a firm believer of chasing the revenue. And if dollars are coming in from it, that's an indicator, that's a direction you need to go. But I also have a big process of, man, I just got to like people. I want to go have a beer with them. And if I can't have it, and I don't drink beer, but I drink a lot of rum though, right? I want to go have a glass of rum with them. And if I wouldn't sit down and have a glass of rum with them, that's not somebody I want to do business with, right? Because especially if you sell a service, and you're going to spend a lot of time with those clients. So I would tell you to, one, look at it from an emotional standpoint. Who do you really want to go get a glass of rum with? Two, I would tell you to chase the revenue. Where is the money currently coming in your business? And look and see if that can be a vertical you can go after, and then go all in. I mean, if you think about it, if you say, I'm a consultant for mid-market manufacturing companies that specialize in X, Y, and Z, you become highly referable anytime that type of industry pops up, because you're the only person in the marketplace that's speaking directly to that discipline. Does that make sense?
So you also need to narrow it down based on who you can have amazing results for. All right. So when I started the sales consulting piece, all my sales experience was in the tech industry. I sold enterprise level data and landline. I sold Nextel to corporations, managed services, software, all that type of stuff. So I knew how to sell tech. So I knew I could go into a tech company that was in a growth phase and actually help them figure out how to do sales better. I had no idea how I would go into a financial business and help them do sales better because I'd never sold finance stuff. I couldn't go into manufacturing because I didn't know how manufacturing businesses worked. So find that industry that you can go in and do stuff for, and you're going to knock it out of the park. Because I knew I could go into all my clients, and we had amazing success, and they always said more really cool things about me, which then fed into my marketing, and they got me into other people they knew because they hung out with other tech CEOs. Then eventually I got to the point, it's like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to figure out this other industry and see how I transition everything I learned doing it for the tech into finance, or now into working with coaches and consultants. When I started working with Donnie, I didn't work with coaches and consultants. And then I figured it out, doing stuff for him. I'm like, all right, now I know how to
We
do
broke a lot of shit along the way.
We broke a lot of stuff. But now I work with a ton of coaches and consultants. I now have coaches that I work with that are doing $1 million in coaching a year. I never would have been able to go in and do stuff for them if I hadn't figured out what I was doing with the one industry and then came in and figured it out with Donnie. So pick the industry that you can go have amazing results in and talk about it, and then you can expand.
You know, because we can even say I'll come right to you, brother. With the networking groups, it was the same way. We picked one type of vertical. We were going after strictly, starting out service-based business owners that were small business owners, and speaking that language, it made it so much easier to target the right people to be a part of the group, and that we can attribute to a lot of the fantastic growth we've had over the years. Come on, brother.
All right, good morning. Jason Demack, VP of Business Development for Continental Roof Company. So you just talked about breaking a lot of stuff. So we've seen recently when a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation makes a bad marketing decision and the after effects of that. So we have a room full of solopreneurs and some that work for larger corporations. So when you get that negative press, or let's say that bad Google review, bad Facebook review, because you have competitors that are haters, what would be your advice on trying to turn that around and how to figure out how to face that?
Well, first, don't worry about it. Here's the thing. Unless you are a multinational conglomerate that makes a big error, then you got to do it. If you're a small business owner, solopreneur, nobody's looking for you anyways, right? Nobody's Googling you. Nobody's, trying to find you. Everything's going to come through word of mouth, conversations, introductions, cold outreach, and that type of thing. If they're going to your website to figure out if you're worth working with, they're likely going to be a pain in the ass because they have to do all this additional research and crap to validate if you're worth working with.
There's nothing wrong with people that do that.
There's everything wrong. Right? So the way to think about it is we just had a client that this happened to, and she got a ton of negative Google reviews from an ex-client or ex-employee that's trying to burn her bad. So what she did is she just went to her network and said, guys, I need a favor. Will you leave me reviews? And SCN stepped up, and she got like 25 5-star reviews, glowing praises out there. So we just carpet bombed the negative reviews, and it worked really, really well.
So if you're in an industry where people actually look at reviews, where they're Googling the company and they want to see what people are saying about you, and you get a bad review, and it's an unwarranted bad review. Now, if you actually did crappy work, you got to own it. All right. But if someone's just trying to be an asshat and is leaving really poor reviews because they're a troll, then what you need to do, you actually need to respond to it. And you need to document all the stuff that you did to help make them better. dates, times, all the things, what you said, conversations, and reply. Because when I look at reviews for stuff that more in the consumer world, I will look at the bad reviews because I want to see how the company handled it and how they reply. And if they have a really good reply that's like, yeah, we did all these things, I'm like, all right, that all sounds reasonable. And now the review doesn't matter to me. If someone leaves you a bad review, but then you escalate, now I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I don't think I want to do business with this person. Right? So don't ignore it. And if you screwed up, own up to it and say, yeah, we totally screwed that up. We're so sorry. Please email us. We will help you fix it. Sometimes you didn't even know there was an issue. And someone just like, oh, I'm going to put it on Google. Reach out and fix it. And then ask them to do it again, and, to update their review. It's like, yeah, so they totally fixed it. They did all these things and everything's good. All right. So we did at the beginning of SCN, we had this amazing idea that all of our members should be business owners. So we put that out in the world. We came up with the idea. 24 hours later, we published it to our network. 24 hours later, we had to retract it.
Wah, wah.
It was not as good of an idea as we thought, but we owned up to it. We had to say, yep, we're sorry. We thought this would be a really great idea. You all came back with really awesome reasons why it wasn't, so we're fixing it, and that's now not a rule anymore. Carry on as everything happened. But that's your role as a business owner is you need to be able to do that. You got to fall on your sword if you're the one who screwed up, because that's going to carry more weight with your audience than if you try to defend yourself and make it sound like you didn't screw up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the more you can just do that, fall on your sword for everything, and take complete ownership of your business as a whole, it's an absolute game changer. Nobody tells you that running a business, you're going to meet yourself along the way. I mean, for me, almost losing my farm in the process of building the businesses, you don't realize how much of your journey were filled with excuses. As an employee for others, it gets really easy to make excuses, and they're legitimate excuses. Like if your sales are down, you can say, well, the marketing's not good, the economy sucks, we're not getting enough leads in. They're all legitimate excuses. As a business owner, if the sales are down, go sell more. If the sales are down, go market more. If the leads suck, go get more leads. You don't get to pass the buck. You have to take complete ownership of it. And the more you do that as a whole, you're going to be blown away by how much more quickly you actually meet the dude in the mirror. And I'm telling you, the more you get to know that person that's staring back at you, the more you're going to be escalating your business at a lot rapid pace. So, to the back.
Good morning. Jen Beck with Complete Health Revolution. And Donnie, having a vision for your business that you're excited about and you can get behind and pulls you through the tough times is really critical. Talk to us about the vision that started SCN and how that's changed over the years.
That's a beautiful question. So Kevin and I never wanted to launch networking groups at all. Prior to launching our companies, we were both heavily involved in networking organizations. I ran 11 networking groups for the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, had 6 of my own groups going. Kevin had, how many chapters?
I had 53 chapters in North Metro Minneapolis with over 1,500 members.
Right.
And a staff of 21 people.
So by the time we launched our own businesses, we were just burnt out on networking as a whole. When the pandemic hit, we always jokingly say we felt like Liam Neeson. All these people were moving to businesses to online, and nobody knew how to do anything online. So we were like, okay, we know how to network. We know there's a massive issue in the marketplace. Let's just fix everything that people hate about networking. And that became our original vision. People have grown up on this really crappy style of networking where you sit in a room and you do these stupid ass 60-second commercials for 45 minutes. Some idiot gets up and does a dumb 10-minute presentation that nobody gives a shit about. And then you go about your days, you get a whole bunch of broke people sitting around just trying to pitch each other, right? We've all seen that type of networking. So we're like, screw that. We're jumping in the game and we're going to fix it. We're going to bring a pure mastermind style together and we're going to disrupt the industry. And that's what we have. To fast forward, we started off just to fix the world. Now we're on a mission that we're going to help as many business owners as we possibly can get to freedom through building a business. Why? Because nobody fucking did it for us, right? As we were going, nobody was out there saying, nobody was sharing their screw up stories. Nobody was saying, this is what you should do. Go try this. This is your next step, your next move. So I'm curious from the room, if you're in SEN and SEN's impacted your business, just raise your hand, right? So when you get a vision that is so dialed in and you know exactly what you're going to accomplish, 1, fix the world, change how the world networks. 2, get as many people to business freedom as possible. People will lean into that vision. But that vision, man, you got to feel it. And when you tell it to others, they have got to feel it and they've got to lean into it.
I don't think I have anything to add for that.
I can tell you, in all seriousness, man, figuring that portion of the business out was probably the strongest thing that we did because that vision gives you an aim. It gives you a target to head for. And I'm telling you, you got it right that when you say it, other people instantly are like, man, I want to be a part of that. Not only do I want to be a part of that, I want to help you accomplish that. How can I help? Right? And people really lean into that process. Is there any other questions out there? Come on.
Ryan Kasner, Panoptica Financial. I really appreciate your perspective on just go break some shit. Get things going, see what's happening. If it's a quote unquote failure, learn from it, get better and move on. But how do you make really difficult decisions that have a pretty significant impact on humans? Because I'm not worried about breaking some shit, but if it's impacting another human, I'm a little more concerned with it.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question, brother. I can tell you big decisions, sit on it for 24 hours. And because what I find is most decisions are often based on emotions. And when you make a decision that's emotional, especially a big decision, you're going to make the wrong decision. So sit on that decision for 24 hours. See if the level of the choice in the decision remains the same, then likely it's the right decision. If it's in a negative context, if it's a choice in a direction to take the company, like you're going to make a massive purchase or you're going to bring on a massive amount of staff, something like that, then you got to ask yourself, what's worst case scenario? Can I recoup? Can I recover from that choice? And look, it's not all sunshines and rainbows running a company. Sometimes you just got to make a tough call, right? Staff are the most beautiful and wonderful thing in the world. They're also your biggest pain in the ass.
So one of the things I'm in addition to running 4 companies right now, I'm also in the National Guard. I'm an officer. I do operational planning for a combat brigade. So we had to learn how to make decisions that had a huge impact on people's lives because we were going to order people into combat. So it was really easy, especially for young lieutenants who are just getting into that planning type situation, to overanalyze and overthink and try and have the exact right answer for the mission before they send anyone out because they don't want people to die. They don't want to be the cause of that. And it's, I'm glad that they feel that way. But here's the thing. We teach our lieutenants that an 80% plan now is better than a 100% plan too late. And as soon as you hit first contact with the enemy, your plan's out the window anyway. So we learn branches and sequels. So we understand that, so if I make this choice, what are the choices I'm going to have to make next? If I do this, what are the things I need to do next after that happens? If the enemy makes a decision, because they get a vote, what do I have to do? So we started thinking in almost, remember those books, Choose Your Own Adventure? You get to the bottom of the page. Would you like to attack the bear with a sword? Or B, would you like to run away?
Attack.
Yeah, obviously. But that's exactly how you have to think about. All right, so if I run away now, what's going to happen? If I attack it with the sword, what are my choices going to be? So as you're making those really big decisions, you have to be thinking about those outcomes so that you can think about, all right, so what are my next steps? If this happens, what do I need to do? All right. When we talk about breaking shit, it's usually more operational things where we want to do something and we want to take action, as opposed to trying to have the perfect way to launch a group. We launched our first group in a week. We could have spent months doing research and planning and developing stuff. Donnie literally called up people he knew in Fort Worth and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want you to start a chapter for me. And you're going to be president, and then we're going to fill it. And we started breaking stuff. So there's a little bit of a difference between going and breaking stuff and making big life-altering choices, but the concept is still the same.
So I just want to take 2 seconds because I know a cool question's coming. Isn't this a cool venue? Yeah. Dude, I walked in here, was freaking blown away. So we're at the NKU Digitorium, and man, I look good blown up big. I don't know why I'm yelling, but I look good up here. So, and speaking of NKU, want to ask a question? Oh, is there somebody else? Oh, come on.
Hello, I'm Roxanne Adams. My business is Taste of Bougie. I'm 3 years in entrepreneurship. I made a big, huge leap from nursing to food artist, which are obviously 2 totally different things. I've had a lot of great success, and with the success, my business is growing fast. I've gone from just a one-woman show to maybe 3 to 4 employees now.
Well done.
Thank you. But my business model is constantly changing, and it's driving me insane. I have coaches, I've had mentors, and I have a lot of programs in Cincinnati that support me. But I'm not even in a commercial space just yet. I'm looking for one, but when looking for one, you have to have your model and all the things. And I started out with this idea to change the world with food artistry. And I just need to know, when do you narrow down what model that is good for you? I've had success in doing all things from, like small parties to large parties to fundraisers to all these events. Popularity is crazy.
Gotcha. So the biggest thing that I would tell you is pick one. Pick one of those things and take it to $500,000. And the reason I say $500,000 is because the knowledge you're going to get taken, whether it's small parties, whether it's big catering, whether it's parties, pick one of those and take it to $500,000. In doing that, everything you're going to learn is going to allow you to turn around and apply it to all those other things you're doing. So go learn the knowledge in that one business. Take that thing big, $500,000, million, and it's not about making the money and the revenue. It's 100% learning how to build a business. And you do it with that one, you're going to be able to do it with all the other ones just as fine, just as easy. And you're going to know which one's the right ones to do based on the knowledge you learned chasing that one. Cool?
So before you leave here today, you need to introduce yourself to Dom. Dom, wave your hand. She is a vegan chef from El Paso on a road tour right now. So I think you two could have some really cool conversations. So I definitely want to do that. But you need to, the cool thing about picking that one thing is now that is your focus. Donnie and I both have, we have squirrel syndrome.
It's ADOS, attention deficit. Oh, look, squirrel.
So, and then literally, that was when we started out, that's what we were doing. He would call me. It's like, all right, so I had this idea. Oh, cool, we can totally build that. And we'd go do it. Or then like the next day I'd call him. I was like, hey, so I was thinking we should do this. Oh, so then we'd go do that. So we had all this stuff going on as we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do with the company and how, what was going to stick. All right. Once we got to the networking, you're like, oh, I think we found the thing. And then we completely focused in on that. And that is our main focus now on what we're working with. And it allows you then to really, gives you a reason to say no to things. So if you're focused on small parties and you get an opportunity to say, "Ooh, we want you to do the Met Gala," you could say, "Well, that would be awesome. Thinking about me for this, but I'm not a good person for that," and you feel okay. You don't now feel like bad that you turned away business.
All right, we got time, I think, for one more. Yep. Two more? Okay.
Dawn Parks, Biz Access Hub. So the question I have, a lot of clients I work with find that their clients have scope creep. You agree to do certain things, and then all of a sudden someone starts to ask for just a little bit more or just a little bit more. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to manage that, because you don't want to lose your clients, but you start to think about, do they have enough money to pay for more services, right? There's all these conversations in your head. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So the greatest word in the English language, probably any language, is the word no. Okay? So here's the thing. Your clients are not your boss. Your clients are not your boss. If your clients are taking advantage of you, it's because you're allowing them to do that. You need to set parameters early in the conversation. If you're way down the rabbit hole and you're doing twice the work that you originally agreed to, you need to go have an adult conversation, right? There's a gal in the network that every time we're coaching her through some of her business stuff, she's like, "God, that sounds so adult." But part of being a business owner is actually acting like an adult. And in business, it's two adults having a damn adult conversation. So you got to go have some real conversations. Boundaries, guys. I tell everybody, on my farm, I got a driveway that I walk every morning. If I go too far to the right, it's a 40-foot drop off down to my creek, right? To the left is a freaking barbed wire fence to keep my goats in the yard. So I can't go too far left. I can't go too far right. When you're dealing with your clients, you gotta have those parameters. If you're scared to have a conversation with that client because you're afraid they're gonna leave you or anything else, you probably need to think about getting rid of them anyways, because I promise you they're taking up more of your time than the pantyassery's worth, and you should go find 2 or 3 clients to replace their ass and just fire them in general.
Yeah, it's really just being open and honest with your clients and saying, "That's a really awesome idea. We can totally do that for you. Here's what it'll cost." And then have that conversation. If you set the precedent of saying yes and not billing them, they're just going to assume that you're going to keep doing it. So you need to start that out right away. So you have to be really clear. I do digital marketing, sales and marketing automation. When I bring on a new client, it's really clear, like, here's what we're doing. Here's what the project entails. Here's how long we're going to be doing this. Here's our timelines and processes. And if we get outside of that, now I can reference back to that, say, all right, so here's what we agreed on. Remember this thing? I drew it out for you, crayons for him. The
former Marine.
And then I could say, this doesn't fall in there. We totally can do it, but it's going to be extra. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You're exactly right. No, we don't really need that right now." We're like, "How much would it be? Because I think we really want that." Like, "Yeah, it'll be this much." "All right, cool. Let's do it." So you have the opportunity to get more revenue by those conversations, as long as it's something that's kind of actually in your purview to do anyway.
Yeah, be brave. Be brave. Oh, give it up for the DJ.
Check. Yeah. Hey, thanks, everybody. Terrace, Troy Horton, founder of Country Boy Entertainment. You're talking in the digital marketing space. Artificial intelligence is coming, and ChatGPT is
I'm
on
addicted.
here. And,
I am so
me too.
addicted.
And I had a hard time getting it because I knew how easy it would be. How do you articulate to your clients that you're working with that ChatGPT is coming fast? And if they don't accept it, how fast you're going to be able to triple their work? And how do you feel in the space of charging them when they don't want to embrace the new technology? If that makes sense.
Ooh. So that's an interesting question. So, I mean, as far as the business side of things and looking at things like AI and the likes, we are using it more for written content checks, ideas, and the likes. I mean, I've gone to ChatGPT because I wrote an email really pissed off. So I took that email, put it in ChatGPT, and literally wrote, "Please make me sound less douchey." And ChatGPT came back and says, "You're not a douche. Let me fix this for you." Right? And that was a response. It was really nice.
ChatGPT is really nice.
Right? So here's the thing. If the client you're working with won't do business with you the way you do business, then don't do business with them. Right? Because you're going to become a slave to them. And if it's out of your scope of work, you got to learn to say no. Because what gets us in trouble often is we say yes too much to things we should have said no to in the first damn place. Anybody ever done that? Right? So I mean, here's the thing is it just goes back to what we were talking a second ago. Set your freaking boundaries, know what your limits are, and then stick to them. And I know that's hard because if you're year one in business, it's okay to be that business whore that first year and say yes to a lot of things because you need the freaking revenue. We get it. Right? Get the revenue in, get to a place where you're stabilized income, then really get niched down from there where you can go after that and really start getting. And the tougher you are up front, professionally, in a very nice manner, talking to people, the tougher you are up front about how things will work, the better your client relationships are going to actually be because they have an understanding of the outcome.
So as a digital marketer, I get asked the question all the time about AI and how we use it. And for us, I'm really upfront with my clients if they ask me. I tell them, yeah, I totally use it. It is a tool that I use to do ideation. You know, give me ideas for topics. Give me write email string for this. I never actually use any of that content because the content usually really sucks. All right. It doesn't match the voice of my client, but it gives me ideas that I can then steal from and then tweak and make better. It sped up my ability to write because I overanalyze as a integrator. So I overanalyze my writing. It used to take me like a day to do a blog article. So I use it for that type of stuff. And then to take things, once we've written it, then we use it to break it down into smaller pieces. So I'm upfront with them. I let them know, hey, here's what we do. Here's how it integrates into our process. Are we going to publish are we using it just to actually write your content? No. We're still doing that. My copywriters are still doing it. But it is a tool that allows us to generate a better product for you.
Any other questions? Cool. So, you got one? Come on. I'll wait for the mic because we got to pick it up on the audio. Introduce yourself too.
My name is Ron Chambers. I'm the founder and CEO of the Chambers Group.
Cool.
My question to you is, if I can articulate this.
Oh, this should be fun.
What made you two guys come together to work a business together?
So, really funny story. Early on in the business, I was a little over a year in building my business, and like a moron, I was doing my own email automations and likes, and I was using a program called MailChimp. Anybody heard of it? Well, of course, I broke it and screwed it all up, and everything was off the rails. I did a really dumb thing. I go to a Facebook group, and I said, hey, my MailChimp broke. Anybody know how to fix it? Let me tell you, there was about 1 billion messages of, I'm a MailChimp expert. I specialize in MailChimp. I can do that for you, blah, blah, blah. Then there's this one comment that is 500 paragraphs long, completely outlining in detail, step by step, all the things I could do. And I said, that's my guy. I sent him a DM and said, hey, can we grab a Zoom? Grabbed the Zoom, jumped on. He walked me through how to fix everything, and we fixed it. And then we went our separate ways. 6 months later, MailChimp broke again because my dumbass was doing MailChimp still. I called Kevin up and said, dude, get your ass in here and fix it. So I hired him for email marketing. And that's all I hired him for. When you hire the right person, The thing that you're going to listen for to know the right person, they're going to constantly start saying, I can do that for you. And every day, Kevin was like, hey, I can do that for you. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And that's how he worked his way up into a business partner and partial owner of all this, is because he constantly kept leaning into things. So, you've got to find people that are into what you do. And they've got to be just as passionate about what you're doing. And look, if you're going to partner up with anybody in business, it's damn near like a freaking marriage, right? So if you guys can't have open and honest conversations, we tell each other to fuck off all the time, right? And, we have had a lot of tough conversations over the years. But if there's anything that ever gets brought up in a partnership type thing and you can't talk about it, dude, it's like a marriage. If you can't freaking talk to your spouse, then that marriage isn't going to work either. So I hope that helps.
When I tell the story, I just tell everyone that Donnie swiped right. So my story is funnier. But no, it was literally, I started doing, the first thing we built for him was just this little email automation for a Facebook group to send out an onboarding sequence. And then we started continually bouncing ideas off of each other. My really super.
I think we had like 6 companies going at one point, different freaking brainstorm ideas.
But it was literally, he was my smallest client. But I was talking to him the most because we were continually coming up with ideas and say, hey, what do we do this? And it became a natural partnership because I'm not him and he's not me.
Thank God.
Yeah, no one needs 2 Donnies in their world. But
I agree with that.
But because I'm an integrator and I'm analytical, I'm a high C, I'm detail.
No.
Shocking. Donnie's not.
No, really?
So we filled the voids in each of our businesses because he was able to do the high D stuff and I was able to do all the other stuff. So he's visionary, I'm an integrator, and it worked out really well. And he didn't start out looking for an integrator. He just ended up with one.
Yeah, and I would tell you, based on that kind of idea, your first hire in your business is most likely somebody who can do your automations and handle that back-end stuff, because that's where a lot of heavy lifting comes in your business, especially when you're talking about communication out front, communication flow with your clientele. If you're doing that and your business is not based in like automation type stuff, hire somebody. Bring them in from the outside, because you're going to spend 10 million hours doing stupid shit like working on MailChimp when your ass should be out selling your stuff. So I think we're going to wrap it up from there. So guys, if you got any tips, tricks, values out of this, we freaking love the fact that everybody who's watching, the YouTubes, listening to us on the podcast, man, the biggest thing you guys can do for us is go leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. To make sure you subscribe to YouTube, Growth Mode on YouTube, and ring the bell. We have new episodes come out every Thursday, 9 a.m. Central. We're interviewing some of the biggest names in the world, and we just love doing it. Every episode is around the idea of the experts we bring on teach Kevin and I. They are literally teaching us their specialties. So we got a cool episode coming up where we're talking to Jared Morgan and his $500 million exit. In his business. It was a fascinating episode talking about how do you really scale and go that freaking big. So some phenomenal episodes coming up. So thank you guys, as always, to NKU, Digitorium, and the campus, everything, the staff. Thank you for having us out of here. Otherwise, love you, mean it. See you, bye.